Welcome to the Produce Moms Podcast, where we believe there is a produce mom in all of us. I'm Lori Taylor, founder and CEO of the Produce Moms. For 10 years, I sold fresh produce to over 300 grocery stores in the U.S. And today, my team and I are fully focused on inspiring people to eat more fruits and vegetables. This show is just one of the ways that we hope to inspire you and your family to eat more produce and live a better life. If you like what you're hearing on the podcast, join our community of almost 40,000 in all 50 states and over 30 countries by visiting theproducemoms.com/subscribe. And be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes. Thanks for being here. Enjoy today's show. Welcome back, everyone. Today on the Produce Moms Podcast, it's the best episode yet. We are welcoming the one and only Julie Krivanek. This woman, her story, her impact, the role that she's played on countless produce industry leaders, countless of the most powerful produce brands in the produce department. It's really profound, the amount of people that this one individual has helped elevate and have in turn made the world and our produce departments a more, just a better place. She's brilliant. It's going to be the best show ever. Julie, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, she is. So Julie, you're the founder, you're the president of Krivanek Consulting, but that is just the scratch of the surface of what you are. I mean, that is the name of your business today, but oh my gosh, your history and your impact. And before we really get started and I turn the mic over to you, I want to just speak from the heart quickly on the role you've had in my life. The folks who are here with the Produce Moms Podcast and who have opted into our content platform as one that they trust. I was a student of Julie's, class 24 of the United Fresh Produce Association Leadership Program. And, but Julie's impact on my life actually goes back before I was actually her student. And I don't even know if you remember this, Julie. We were at PMA, Produce Marketing Association Fresh Summit, and I'm walking that massive trade show alone. It was very infant stages of the Produce Moms. I didn't have a lot of meetings at the time. I was really just in the trenches of the bootstrapping journey. And you stopped me when you walked past me and you said to me, you call me if you ever need anything. I really believe in you. And I haven't said this to very many people. You told me you said you're only the second person I've said this to. So, but it was at that moment, any of us have been in those journeys where when someone believes in you, it just changes the trajectory of how you believe in yourself and the way that you just reframe your level of confidence. And I was trying to rack my brain on when that was. Julie, I think it was 2016. I think it was my first Fresh Summit after I had bought the Produce Moms. And that meant a lot. And then I got to know you even better in our journey here more recently through the Produce Marketing Association, through the United Fresh Produce Association leadership class. So just an immense amount of impact on me. And the biggest thing is Julie has believed in me before a lot of people, before this show even existed, before we had hundreds of thousands of website visitors, before we had the social media platform and the partnership, network that we have today. Julie was someone who believed in me. And so to say I'm excited about today's show is understatement of the year. You have so much to offer people, but the way you help people believe in themselves and strategically think about how they can, bring their visions and their goals to fruition is how I would describe you, Julie.
I think I need a nap.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh.
So tell us more about your past and what Krivanek Consulting is about.
I do remember that, Lori. I can see that in my face, in my head. I do remember that. A word about the Produce Moms. People have taken a shot over many decades at creating some type of a consumer brand for our wonderful products. They have all failed. You have not. You are first, best, and only. So, for both of us, we know each other very well. For both of us, we are in these, wonderful careers in an industry that we love, but the depth of impact, it particularly, both of us do different things, but the depth of impact that you can have is just indispensable. It is just huge. So yay for you. And fast. And you're getting there fast, which I love. Okay, so good, Lori. Yeah, good produce moms.
Thank you. Yeah. You're the best.
Good.
Tell us more about you.
Okay, so, I know, this love fest. Okay, so I started Krivanek Consulting in 1990. So this year is my 30th anniversary.
Wow.
We are in a nugget focused on strategic thinking and planning and management consulting in the global produce industry. I'll tell you, I want to talk a bit about my background, and it's not self-serving. There's a reason for that.
Every woman needs to hear it. Yeah. I truly think that, because when Julie shared her background with us in the leadership class, I was thinking, man, to considering the timing and the industry, so share it. It's important.
I began my career recruited out of school in the Fortune 100 industry. It was Fortune 10 at that time, and when I left, the company was moved around and was Fortune 100. My educational background is in general management. Okay, so I was absolutely educated on what general management means. Mm-hmm. And since then, in the last 30 years, I have worked at the destiny and decision-making level of businesses. That means that I'm a founder and a president. That means that I advise board of directors. That means that I'm a member of boards. I have a joint venture. I'm a partner. People have hired me to be their chief strategist. So I've worked in public, private, family businesses, cooperatives, and trade associations. The industries that I've worked in are technology, obviously mining and energy, which is where I came from, construction, media, obviously produce, and my global scope, which I think is incredibly important to people to understand and to have business and global savvy. I have traveled the world, worked, lived in Prague, worked all over the world in really observing not just cultures and how business succeeds, but also, the consumption of fresh produce. What do people do with fresh produce? I have an undergraduate from Purdue. My master's is from University of Denver. I am formally trained at Columbia University. So why do I say all that? I tell people that because this is a different environment that we're in now. Warren Bennis, who is the father of leadership, was asked and wrote about the best advisors for businesses. And he said, specialists are better than generalists, but the people that really add deep value are called deep generalists. They have experience, knowledge breadth, and knowledge depth. That's me. I'm a deep generalist. And what that means is, particularly in these times, it means that I can enter an organization, perhaps under the banner of strategic thinking and planning, but I can enter an organization and really look at a holistic picture, really look at what strategic thinking means, really look at the marketplace, and constantly say, what is our long-term value? How do we grow this business? What are your problems? And I can come in and say, oh yeah, I remember. Okay, how about this? Try that. So I think that's really the true value of the business. I mean, I'm the business. The true value is having the headspace to come in in times that are, just really our future reality is, our current and future reality is crazy. So it's bringing people in the organization that can do that.
Right. And it's, as you speak about the timing, so over the last 30 years in the industries where you've had these incredible leadership positions, I mean, those weren't really for females. And the initiatives to mobilize and advance and equalize the female workforce are relatively new.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was a oddity in my undergraduate. Okay, I went to an engineering school. I was an oddity. Mm-hmm. And then I got recruited into the oil and gas industry where I was a triple oddity. And, I got to tell you, I was excited, enthused, interested in everything that I did. And so I never thought of myself as anything unusual. I was raised by first-generation Czech parents. They had extraordinary work ethics. And nobody was ever really special. It was work hard, do your best. So how did I get ahead? I mean, maybe other people had a problem with me. I didn't really think about it. I was in weird situations, I mean, I was in very weird situations. But I was I can help you. I can add to you. I'm a good person to work with. Just when I was a vice president.
I also think, you don't mince your words either. I mean, you tell the truth. You're a straight shooter. And Julie Krivanek is a woman who has no time or tolerance for BS. So this is you are definitely. The impact you've had on so many folks in the industry. I think it's appropriate to let's get some more of your insights now on the current state.
Yeah.
I mean, this is such disruptive time. And as someone who has been at the helm of strategic planning for so many of our industry's top leaders, as well as top brands, let's hear a little bit more now on your assessment of the current state right now. Where are we in fresh produce?
Okay, so I would like to flip the script. Mm-hmm. We as human beings, I believe, are wired to the negative. We are wired to the ain't it awful. Our news is wired to, blood and smoke. And so I do a lot of research in line with my practice. I do lots of research, and I always pull back and say, what's really happening? This is what's really happening. And I want to speak with the people that are on this podcast who are consumers who follow the produce moms because they believe in healthy eating and want to see ideas about it, but also the trade. But I'm going to start with consumers. This is our time. I wouldn't go as far as to say there was a silver lining in the pandemic. I mean, that would be sort of like crazy talk. But I will tell you that for years and years and years, looking at research on consumption, it has been flat as a pancake. It's changed. The consumer, the number one trend as we go forward, 5 years, 10 years, it's never going to stop. Health and wellness is the number one trend. How do we know that that's real? We know that's real by the metrics that we look at for consumption. I looked at something this week that said consumption of fresh fruit and vegetables was up 10%. From last August. Okay, so that means pre-pandemic. It doesn't take into consideration the spikes that we had. It means pre-pandemic. So people are, they're waking up. Finally, they're waking up. Business models, the consumer leads, they're the dog. We're all the tail. Business models are now forming around that health and wellness desire that people have. If you look at just this summer, Schnucks opened up a store called Eat Well. What's it all about? Yep. Organic, healthy, fresh. Aldi and other stores have created easy ways to access nutritional information. BBC Food just put out a piece of research, and this one really interested me. It correlated what you eat with your mental and emotional health, particularly depression.
Wow.
And here's what it said. We know this, but now it's living and breathing. We know that the consumption of fresh fruit and vegetables, when you pull down the consumption of processed, junk, fast food, and sugar and alcohol, which are killers, absolutely trash the immune system. When you start moving up fresh fruits and vegetables and start moving down those other almost non-food items, our mental health, our emotional health, and our sense of being less depressed is researched. Right. So, wow. Okay, so now I would say to the consumer, you're doing a good job. Keep going, keep going, keep going. When I look at the industry, and I'd like to speak to them next in terms of just sort of, overriding macro trends that we're seeing. First of all, how can you not succeed in an environment that is all about eating the stuff that you grow and produce? Do you know what I mean? I think, this is, people are looking for the magic pill. We got it. We are the magic pill.
You're right.
I mean,
you're right.
You can tell I am optimistic, enthusiastic. What is happening? The channels are getting fragmented. We're seeing, which is not a bad thing, we're seeing the omni-channel, where produce can be delivered here, there, and everywhere. So the scope of and the opportunities for it are just amazing. Right. We are a recession-resistant industry. So, the old timers in the industry say, well, people got to eat. Well, people got to eat. Okay. And now it's people got to eat healthy. So we have valuable products that are in great demand. Let us never forget that. But I also have a personal word of celebration and a word, well, you'll see. So my personal word of celebration is this. What a crazy year. But for us in the produce industry, I say yay, 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 yay. We are like Navy SEALs. I mean, nothing can get us. We walked through every kind of chaos that you can particularly imagine. And in fact, in a sort of peculiar way, we are at our best when things are at their worst. We live in a chaotic environment. Mother Nature throws curveballs. Everything is chaotic. We rise and shine. And by God, we did. I mean, we did. Now, the word that's not so nice, okay? So for all the people that are in the wah-wah, this is what I have to say. Take a good look at where you were before the pandemic, okay? Mm-hmm. Because if you think that the March, April, May lockdown, mask buying, all the stuff that we were doing, if you think that tipped your business model over, I would say you are incorrect. And this is why. The businesses, I speak to businesses all day, every day. Yep. And these are the things that people are saying to me. Julie, we're going to have our best year ever. And they whisper it to me. This is going to be our best year ever. We'd like you to come and help us figure out what to do with all the profits. Do you hear that word? What to do with all the profits? We can't get enough supply. And this isn't just in the springtime when we were all, hoarding and doing crazy behaviors. We can't get enough supply. Are there alliances or joint ventures that you can create? That's the majority of what I hear. The people that are in desperate shape, I saw two things. Okay. The first, and these are fundamental, foundational business. The first is businesses that were over leveraged. Okay. You know what that means.
I don't know. Tell us what it means.
Well, it means that they had too much debt. They were small margins, too much debt. All of a sudden, the revenue wasn't coming in, right? But we still have bills to pay. Those are the businesses now that are shopping for any source of funding. Number two, businesses that as a part of their foundational business model had an undiversified portfolio. Mm-hmm. Okay. So if your portfolio, if you bet on one thing, and the ones that are in the worst problem, we know that they put all their money on food service. Okay. Yeah. The businesses that had as a part of their business model a diversified portfolio, yes, food service took a tank. And it's coming up, it's about 20-25% now. So it's eking up, but it's going to be 2-3 years before it really gets to
100%. Yeah. Right. I mean, and a lot of folks in the supply chain, they haven't even been paid from January because of the way terms were set up.
Absolutely.
And then with the shutdowns, it's like there's you're right.
Absolutely. But take a look at the businesses that as just a part, it's like a stock portfolio. Do you have all one kind of stock? You would never do that. Never. But people have done that within their businesses. And as a result, they're 90%, 100% of their business just went into the tank. The businesses that were diversified, both geographically, both in market channels, both maybe had a dip, but that dip didn't stay. And the increase in retail sales actually has outpaced what they've lost. So you see a bobble, right? But you see it outpacing. So that's the biggest. That's the biggest thing. And the third thing relates more to the debt and financial is businesses that don't have a cash runway. They had no cash runway. Mm-hmm. Their operating expenses were out of line. This isn't strategy. This is how you run a business 101. So, I would ask those businesses, I'm kind of yelling at them, but I'm really not, but I'm asking them to take a good, sincere look at where they were pre-pandemic, because this is now a time where you can fix some of those things and mitigate the impact, because there's going to be more stuff coming at us as we go into the next 5, 10, 20 years.
Oh, for sure. For sure. So one thing you just said, a recession-proof industry.
Recession resistant.
Yeah. Recession resistant. Yeah. Okay, I wrote it down wrong. Recession resistant industry. There's so much truth to that. Yeah. But certainly the pandemic shutdown I felt like there was a level of chaos and disarray, and folks didn't know what to do. And you were one that offered, you came to support a lot of folks in the produce industry. It was a really incredible offering. I took advantage of it. It was your 100 hours of leadership. Tell folks a little bit about how you focused your efforts to help the produce industry keep chugging along. Yeah. And it was, and I believe the timeline was around April. Is that correct?
I spent a month and a half talking to people. Yeah. So I decided, I'm an intellectual, I'm a researcher, I'm an executive, but I have the heart of service. I am absolutely geared in that direction. I'm a helper. I've got the helper DNA. So when all of this, impacted us, really the thing I kept thinking of was, how can I help? How can I do something that will take people past whatever problem solving they needed to have? So I donated completely consulting hours and time to a wide array of people, and had one piece of value that I gave to them, which frankly was to say, get ready. Okay, this isn't going to be 4th of July. We're not out eating hot dogs. Okay, get ready. Yeah. And I talked to them about the foundation, as I just spoke about, the foundation of their business, the cash runway, their burn rate or how fast they were spending money, whether or not they could survive for the next 2 or 3 years. The macro trends and the research said, okay, this is going to be a long haul. Certainly the illness part of it, but then the economic, sort of cascade. So that was a bit of it, was to say, you need to get ready. You need to cut the fat. You need to look at your expenses. You need to look at your cash runway. You need to renegotiate leases. You need to do everything that you can to be in a position of strength and readiness. But the second part of it, as you know, was what do you want my help on? And that was it. Mm-hmm. I had no agenda, but as a deep generalist, I said, if you've got stuff going on, I think I can help you. And so I ended up, everything from, career planning to, market plans to leadership issues to deep issues about sales channels. I mean, it was just a wide variety of deeper problems. And that's what I spent my spring doing, was talking to people and helping them with that. And I also, I'm an editorial contributor on a very frequent basis to the Snack. And I did not want people to get stuck in this sort of nightmare vortex we were in. And I went back in my own mind to the last years in business, decades in business, and said, okay, what do we need to remember? We need to remember that at the end of this is long-term value, long-term advantage, profitable growth. We can't get stuck where we are. So I wrote a 2-part series called Solving the Produce Rubik's Cube with the right board, the right CEO, and the right strategy. So I'm, sort of looping back around to that again, saying to people, okay, maybe you tipped 100% in one direction because the today environment was screaming at us every day. We are now moving into planning season. It's like, okay, come back up again. Don't forget we're in it for the long haul, and let's start looking at that again. Mm-hmm. So it was, so that's what I did. I just gave
let's talk about those. Yeah. Talk about those verticals, the right board, the right CEO.
Yeah.
The right strategy. Yeah. I think it applies to, my goodness, it applies to all of us, even our consumer listeners. There's takeaways as you talk about business strategy. You can apply that to your household too. Yes. Julie's made me a better mother and a better wife and a better captain of my house through the lessons that she's taught me in business. So please, if you don't mind, let's elaborate a little bit on those.
There's deep principles, you bet, that extend. Okay. So the first thing I looked at is the right strategy. Okay. So I have to say this, strategy has gotten dumbed down. Strategy for most people looks like a to-do list. My strategy is to call the customer, and that's not a damn strategy. That's something that you do at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Come on. Right. Strategy really is about understanding competitive positioning in a market that is moving and moving. What are you doing to reach what, in simplest terms, to reach the ideal vision for your business? Okay. Now that may be a little bit closer in, but what are you doing to get there? And what are the few strategies that will actually get you there competitively, carve out a place of value in this crazy marketplace? Because we know if you don't have a place of value, you have nothing to compete on except price. That's the road to permission. Okay. Yep. So that is that. A lot of businesses that show consistently 12% over others in revenue have a strategy. They use strategic thinking, which is the most important part, and strategic planning. Okay. So that's that. The other parts are the human The gas, right? The human gas. You get people together, and I'm telling you, they're brilliant. People collaborating with each other. In our industry, we're entrepreneurs, we're smart, we've seen a lot. So the other two are the human component. One is the right CEO, and the other is the right board. A message about the CEO job. It is brutal, 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 brutal. Research shows that 45% of all the big decisions are made by the CEO. If you've got a crummy CEO, guess what? Okay.
It's a killer.
It's a killer. Those are the big decisions. Those are the big decisions. They have the power to do that. So lest, I'm one, I work with them. It's when I worked with somebody that's a new CEO, and he said, it really is lonely at the top. I said, I'm telling you, I hope we're paying you enough. This is a big, hairy job. But the other that I think people need to think about more is the right board. I'm advise boards. I'm a board member. And by the time you start popping up into the world in which we're swirling right now, and you start looking at, let me get the best brains on the planet in this with me, you must have an advisory board. You must. Okay. These are people with varying backgrounds, some know the industry, some are, business pundits, whatever it might be. But for that CEO to get supported by a board is a big deal, because nobody else supports the CEO. They cannot take this to most of their direct reports. They've got to go up to a higher source. I will also say something. Okay, family businesses, if you're listening, you're going to reel back and grab your pearls. I got to tell you, trotting in all of your cousins, brothers, sisters, moms and dads, children, trotting them all in and calling them the board ain't it. That's Thanksgiving. Okay. That is not a board. And then people want to balance it out and put in their CPA and their attorney. Yet again, that ain't a board. Okay. You're going to absolutely have family meetings, and you should. They have an ownership stake in the business. You must absolutely collaborate with them. By the way, you must absolutely hold standards that you hold others up to your own family members. All right. But really look at collecting 5, 6, 7 people that really advise and collaborate with that CEO. That's when magic starts to happen, especially now.
Do you see this a lot in produce? I mean, we are such a family-owned, dominated industry, really at every stage of the supply chain until you get to the retailer or the food service operator. Do you feel like we are where we need to be as an industry with boards? No, I don't think so either.
No. And there's reasons for that. One is that people just simply don't know what to do with the dynamics of a family business, the interpersonal dynamics, and the points of possible conflict. How do you tell Jimmy, who's worked there since he was 12, sweeping the floors, how do you tell him he's not the next president? Okay. I mean, these are heavy, heavy conversations. The other is we are independent, privately held businesses run by entrepreneurs. Okay. Who say, hey, I got it. I don't need a bunch of people telling me how to run my business. So they see it as something that is more threatening, as opposed to something that is absolutely additive. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's being glorified in other industries. I mean, I keep a tight eye as I develop the produce moms, and I keep a tight eye on other sectors of the food industry, and with natural products, there's full on initiatives to diversify boards and to bring more female leadership into boards, and to usher these emerging, very small and entrepreneurial food brands in the natural product space by simply assembling a board.
Yes.
They treat it as almost the primary objective in brand building.
Well, it's guidance and governance.
You're right.
Right. At the very, very highest level. I wish that more produce businesses would really embrace that. I advise a board. I was their strategist, and then advised them to get an advisory board. And, of course, I was the first person on their advisory board. They said, oh, sure. Right, you can be that. And then started moving them now into the model that they're in right now. What happened? And this is a food distribution company. That's a sector that just went, topsy-turvy. They've diversified. Yeah. Okay, so they have retail, they have exports, they have food, they have everything. What else do they have in terms of the people? They were ready to close their doors. Okay, it's a family business. They were ready to close their doors. What did they do? They tried to sell it. Nobody wanted to buy it. They tried to, maybe we should just shut it down and sell the land. Nobody wanted that. Okay. So we created an advisory board, crackerjack advisory board, and started to go through the iterations of possibility. Okay. What are they doing now? They got a CEO that was pure magic, pure gold. Okay. They've done so well. They just finished planning for the brand new warehouse facility that they're building. Okay. They break ground next year.
So they're expanding in a big way.
It's crazy. Nobody is slighted or ego or any of that. It's like, wow, that didn't work. Now what? That didn't work. Well, let's try this. I mean, they finally hit the magic formula. And it is, people are churned up, charged up, raring to compete.
Right.
That's what can happen when you use more heads than just one.
That's right. Yeah. And especially, the perspective that you share with me, and just speaking from the 100 hours of leadership that you did, in the spring, that I definitely took advantage of. I think I might have actually been your very first schedule. When I got that email, I was like, I'm in.
I love it.
Yeah. And then I was so privileged to be in the leadership class with you, as through that program that United Fresh and Corteva offers to fresh produce sector leadership. But your diversified background that you touched on in the top of the show, the 3+ decades that you've been leading so many different companies in different sectors, and most recently, obviously, being fully focused on fresh produce. When I think of who I want on my advisory board, it's you, Julie. That's what I'm getting at here. But you got to tell me more about what your future plans are. I mean, things have been so disrupted. You have done so much service to help our industry rally through this and stay very positive. You opened today's show with such a tone of positivity that I haven't heard from anyone else.
Yeah. Oh no. Listen, I'm a cheerleader. I'm a fan of what the consumer's doing. I'm a fan of our industry. I'm a fan of our product. What's not to be upbeat about? Come on. I mean, come on. So here's what's next. So, as I transform business models, I am known for transforming my own business model and analyzing it every 2 or 3 years. So here's what's next. First is I am really being requested to be on more boards. And I'm selective, I'm careful, but why? Because I want to really bring value to them. Okay, I want to be the cog that fits. Why are women on boards such a talking point now? Because we represent the consumer, for God's sakes.
Yeah, you're right.
We eat and buy produce. We make most of the food decisions. Okay, so people are not saying, oh, it's a gender thing, it's a diversity thing. They're saying, hey, I want a workforce and a board that looks like the people that buy and eat our produce. Duh. Okay, so that's terrific. Okay, but the second thing, so that's great. I'm very interested in that. But the other thing is, last week I launched the catalyst for thinking about how can I help businesses in this next round of strategy that they're going through was that 100 hours of leadership. People kept saying the same things. How do we grow the business again? Where are we headed? We have this plan. It means nothing now. We had, these things that are
a lot of unknowns,
reshaped, negated. So I created, and it's launched, called, it's a new strategic thinking and planning service called Better, Stronger, Strategic Thinking and Planning in a New Normal World. So just think of all we do know in the marketplace, all we don't know, all we can extrapolate, these new business models that are shaking up. People need somebody that's really at the senior level, like I am, to come in and say, okay, where are you? What have you done? Let's start really looking at the opportunities and how to take advantage of them going forward. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm doing.
That's good.
Yeah. That and hiking.
So how...
I'm in Colorado. Hiking.
Yeah. With your snow boots on. No, Julie, it's profound. I don't know if do you even know the amount of businesses that your strategy and leadership has touched? I mean, through the United Fresh Produce Association class, through all the clients that you've served? Hundreds. I'd say it's more than that.
Maybe thousands.
I mean, and then also you got to think of the effect when you of your mentorship and strategic advice on someone and how they can then exude that to others. It really is. It's a profound level of service and impact on fresh produce. I mean, it's not something that we could capture in this podcast episode, or even probably with a number figure. It really is profound. So with that, I mean, closing remarks from me are just, Julie, thank you for everything that you've done to make me a better professional and help the produce moms grow. You've kept me confident. You've pushed me. You've said things to me that no one else has said. That some have been critical, some have been warm and fuzzy. But one thing that they all have in common is they've been spot on. Everything you've told me has been spot on. And when I do what you do, I've never had a swing and miss, when you tell me to do something and I implement it, like one thing for anyone that's a subscriber to our newsletter, we embrace the terminology from seed to smile. We rebranded our entire consumer facing newsletter platform with that terminology. Julie is the one who told me, think about seed to smile. Think about how the Produce Moms is the catalyst and really the one and only conduit of that journey for our industry. And when I thought about that more deeply, we've embraced that as essentially our ethos at the Produce Moms in our operation. And it's been very well received by our community as well as the people who work with me day in and day out to keep this thing going. But she's just such a brilliant mind, made a big impact on me. So that's my final goodbye, but you get the final word.
It has been my pleasure.
Thanks.
And it has been an honor. And for both of us, right, we can hold hands and look at our consumers, at our industry partners, as people that we work with, that we live with, that we play with. We just are on the right side of the law. We are wearing the white hats. This is, boy, everybody hang in there, keep going. Man, this is nothing but an upward golden era for us and for our industry. Don't grab it, right? Just grab it.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Produce Moms Podcast. If you or someone you know would like to be a featured guest, just send an email to Lori@theproducemoms.com. We know there is a produce mom in you because there's a produce mom in all of us. Join our community on Facebook and all social platforms. Help us change the way America eats. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.